So this is a therapist doing a demonstration of pretty traditional child-centered play therapy. One thing I will say, I don't sit in a chair. I sit down on the floor with the kids because that seems more comfortable to me, depending on who trains you and kind of the philosophy behind that, your own comfort level with that. You'll see play therapists do it a little bit differently. I follow the child around the room, assuming that they tell me that that's, or assuming they don't be like, okay, you stay over there. If they say that, then I'll sit over there. Sometimes kids will like turn so you can't see what they're doing, and okay, you don't want me to see what you're doing, and you reflect all that and you voice it for them.
It's gonna go.
Oh, you know where it goes. You got it in there. You didn't even need my help.
Push up.
Okay, and then that.
Help me.
You need some help. Let's see. Okay, got that in there like that. You knew that that went in there.
I need help. This.
Okay, and you need help with something else. There was something else that you weren't sure about.
This help. This.
You need help with that part right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if you can get that.
And one thing I want to emphasize that I didn't in my discussion of the skills, that is something I certainly emphasize with parents, is I think is really well illustrated here, where the child, young child, probably 3, 4, is coming to her saying, I need help. And she doesn't immediately go, oh, honey, let me help you, right? She just says, oh, there's something you're trying to figure out how to do. And she waits. And then the child figures it out on his own. And then she says, oh, you figured it out. You got it. Like that's one of those little micro interaction pieces of confidence, of perseverance, that all too often we rescue kids from because, oh, honey, let me help you with that. I have that conversation a lot with parents.
Kind of tricky. Focus.
Okay, I got it.
You got it! You smiled.
Help me.
Okay. You've got something else in mind you want to do. Just checking it out.
This goes the other way.
Oh, you think it goes the other way. Okay. Pushing that like that. Bumps into it. Oh! Oh, you'd like for me to wear that. All right. Got it on now.
Help me.
Okay. All in there. It's hard to do. It's hard to get them to all go in there.
I did it.
You did it. It was hard, but it didn't stop you.
I did it.
You did it, and you're proud.
Help me.
Okay, you'd like some help.
This goes in there.
Okay, you know that. You know that that part goes in there. Okay, you're squeezing it together, getting it in there. Okay. All right, you're giving this to me.
Obviously, this is the therapist, but this is ultimately the kind of thing we would want to be able to train parents to do in their interaction with the child. And what's really cool is you watch the transition from the child playing with the therapist to the child playing with the parent, is because parents usually, almost always, have so much more depth of understanding of the child. Like their reflections are so much more attuned. Because, despite what we'd like to believe that, when a child does this, it means this, we don't know. That was highlighted to me really, really clearly. I have a 13-year-old son, and when he was 4 or 5-ish, I videoed myself with him as a demonstration for a class that I was teaching. But it was fascinating, though, because I played the tape for my class, and so we talked about, like, what would you interpret out of those themes? And as the parent, I'm listening going, oh my gosh, no, none of that is what that meant. Like, I knew exactly what it meant because I knew where he'd been, I knew what experiences he'd had, and so I could, very quickly, oh, you're playing this because you're remembering being at grandparents and when this happened, and so, like, I'm a part of his world, so I knew much more intuitively how to interpret what he was doing. Than a stranger, even somebody that knows him well. I've got several kids that I've seen over the course of like a year or two, rare circumstances, but still. So I feel like I can interpret their play pretty well, but I'm still having to talk to their parents about, okay, they did this. What's that about? Does that mean anything to you? And so we have to collaborate to be able to understand what their play is expressing. When it's something that I can comfortably do in play in an office, then it's no big deal for me to be cooking dinner and my child walk up and go, rawr, with the dinosaur, and me to go, oh, he almost bit me, and then go right back to stirring. So I can have those little moments where I'm being responsive, and in a lot of ways that keeps my child much more happy while I'm cooking dinner. And if he walks up and does that with me at the dinosaur and I say, I'm busy, go away, then chances are he's going to come back about 10 more times while I'm cooking dinner. But if I learn, okay, this is a bid for connection from my child, in a lot of ways that Gottman talks about the same kinds of bid for connection between couples, kids are making bids for connection with us as parents all the time. And so when we help parents learn that's a bid for connection, you can stir and get down at his level at the same time and say, oh, he almost got me. You're having so much fun with your dinosaurs. Dinner's going to be ready in about 10 minutes. Are you hungry? And I can give that charge of energy into my child, and then I prevent myself from having to push him away 15 more times while I'm trying to get dinner ready. And once parents get that, then they can understand this takes less energy to be present and engaged because I'm plugging in here, and then my child can just feel, oh, mom's excited about what I'm playing. And then I can go off and do my own thing, and everybody's much more peaceful that way. I have a 13-year-old girl right now that I'm doing filial training with because she wants to play. She's a huge Star Wars fan, and so she tells all of her stories about her family as a Jedi, which made me have to study up because it's been a long time since I watched Star Wars. I don't really enjoy movies that much, but I made myself sit down because I'm like, okay, I got to learn to speak this kid's language. And it was amazing to see the way her communication with her mom has changed as she's able to kind of stay in that mode. And we can talk about Jedis all day long, and how they have to turn off their emotions. But we can't talk about ourselves yet, and that's okay. There's all sorts of applications, though, I think, for adolescents, too, in the responsive listening piece. My son just got an Xbox. Finally, I relented that you can buy an Xbox after you've saved the money. And so now I can sit down next to him and watch him play Xbox games. And, okay, so that character does this, and this character does this, and all right, yeah, you've worked really hard to figure out how to do those moves, and there's still a connection potential there, by you inserting yourself into something that they enjoy doing. You can do that throwing a football. There's all sorts of different ways that you can still be present and use an extension of those same kinds of skills, particularly the reflective stuff. When we're talking about directive interaction, interactive kind of play therapy, we're going to the other end of the spectrum and talk about the skills that are necessary in the checkout line at HEB to keep a child happy while you're waiting, which I actually saw yesterday as I was in the checkout line at HEB. It's a baby, probably less than a year old, sitting there, long line. Mom's got a phone call that comes in, so she takes it out and looks at the phone, answers it, and as soon as she turns away from the baby to answer the phone, baby's like, ah! Ah! I mean, not like cry, like fussy, but like making noise. Like, hey, Mom, get back over here. And so Mom, and I love when I get to see these little moments, because Mom, like, turns back around, makes eye contact with the baby and starts, like, doing high fives like this while she's talking on the phone. And the baby's, like, laughing and doing like this. And it was like that little bitty moment, that Mom could have been like, shh. Could have tried to shush the baby, and the baby would have been like, but I want you to look at me. And then we would have had a crying baby. And over on that end, we're talking about being in tune with the energy of the child and being able to directively take them through experiences that are going to be reparative for whatever kinds of experience that they need to have. So the situations that we go this way versus child-centered play therapy, when we're talking about a lot of self-regulation struggles, and particularly for younger kids, I tend to start going this route first before we go over to filial. But as you do the training in both, then you start to get a sense of, it sounds like this is maybe going to be a fit over here. Maybe we're going to go over here. And some of it, frankly, is going to be what I think the parents are going to be receptive to, because this one's a lot more work for parents. It really is. After the intake with the parents, then we go to a structured observation process for the parent-child interactions. So it's called the Marshak interaction method, where there's 10 index cards that are in a room where they're videotaped for the parent to be able to go through. One is taking these little squeaky animals or finger puppets or something and having them play together. They comb each other's hair. They feed each other a snack. The parents to tell the child a story, to like play a game that they're familiar with, and they're given like the little animals, paper and pencil, and the snack, and that's it. So the parent has to be kind of creative, and you get to see really quickly what transpires for them in the checkout line at HEB. And then you sit down first with the parents and talk through what you see in the interaction. A lot of connection work, and the rapport piece is really, really important for you with the parent in this, because nobody wants to be videotaped with their child. Because then you've got all your parent guilt and insecurities that come up of, maybe everything is my fault, and all of that stuff. And that's something that the theraplay, which is the model of this that I like the best, of the directive. The level 1 training is 4 days long. And then level 2 training, I think, is another 4 days. And then there's a 2-day follow-up. So this is a pretty extensive process to learn and be familiar with. There's a lady in Houston, Mary Ring, that does a really good job doing the trainings. So if this is something that you're interested in doing as well, it's an investment of time, certainly, but I think it's well worth it. Particularly those of you that are working at Clarity in situations where you're seeing a lot of child trauma, because this is, I think, the most suited intervention for trauma. Because it's so experiential and it's all about the neurological experience happening. So we're training parents first to understand the rationale of the process, and then eventually for them to be able, typically about 20 sessions, for them to be able to do the process under supervision and then transfer that to home.